Sitting alone in a crowded auditorium while your family relaxes at a beach resort is a strange kind of pain. I did not shed a single tear when they called to cancel. Instead, I quietly made a different phone call that would change everything. They thought their absence was a harmless choice, but they had no idea that the entire world was about to watch their betrayal play out on a live broadcast. My name is Nora, and at 22 years old, I had spent my entire life playing the role of the invisible daughter. In our household, I was always defined as the low-maintenance child who never needed anything. My parents used that label as an easy excuse to overlook me, directing all their focus, energy, and warmth toward my older sister, Chloe. Our family dynamic was built on a silent but rigid hierarchy where Chloe occupied the absolute center. Every dinner conversation revolved around her minor struggles, her social plans, or her latest career anxieties. My parents hung on her every word with intense devotion, while my own quiet updates were met with polite nods before the focus inevitably shifted back to her. When I got into my dream college, the celebration lasted less than 5 minutes before my mother turned to discuss the vacation plans of Chloe. I funded my entire education through multiple scholarships and exhausting part-time jobs. Whenever I gathered the courage to ask for basic help with textbooks, my mother would smile and praise my independence, leaving me to struggle alone. The true breaking point arrived just weeks before my graduation ceremony. My mother called to explain that they had already booked an expensive resort getaway with Chloe during that exact weekend. My father added that my sister was dealing with immense stress and desperately needed a family escape. They did not even bother to ask how much this milestone meant to me. After hanging up, I stared at the dark fabric of my graduation gown hanging in my closet. The familiar ache in my chest transformed into a sharp, cold clarity. I realized I was done waiting to be chosen by people who only saw me as an afterthought. For the first time in my existence, I resolved to choose myself and the people who actually cared. A few days later, I sat in the cozy kitchen of my best friend, Maya. Her parents, Arthur and Sarah, noticed my quiet mood and asked how my graduation preparations were going. When I confessed the truth about my family, the room went completely still. Sarah set her chores down, and Arthur shook his head in disbelief at the cruel rejection. They did not offer empty advice or try to excuse the behavior of my parents. Instead, Sarah smiled warmly and gently insisted that they would be absolutely honored to attend my graduation. Her kind words broke through my defensive walls, and I realized that I did not have to suffer through this milestone in total isolation. I accepted their offer with profound gratitude. What my family did not know was that my quiet college years had been filled with intense, secret achievements. I had been working late nights on a major creative project, refining scripts and developing a production that finally caught the attention of a massive industry partner. I kept this news entirely to myself because my family never showed any interest in my passions. Just before the big day, my project supervisor confirmed that our partner company wanted to present me with a massive public award during the commencement ceremony. I quietly filled out the official guest forms, listing Arthur and Sarah as my primary family guests. As the morning of graduation arrived, I adjusted my cap in the mirror, feeling lighter and stronger than ever before. The vast auditorium buzzed with the excited chatter of proud families taking photographs. I looked out into the crowd, knowing exactly which seats would remain empty. However, seeing Sarah waving frantically with a tissue in her hand and Arthur smiling proudly warmed my heart. I walked across the stage, accepted my hard-earned diploma, and embraced the thunderous applause of the crowd. The graduation did not end with the diplomas. The dean returned to the stage to announce a special recognition from a major industry partner. A highly respected executive stepped up to the microphone, her voice instantly commanding the attention of everyone in the room. She began to speak about a graduate whose extraordinary project had completely exceeded all professional expectations. When she called my name, the crowd erupted into applause as I walked back onto the brightly lit stage. The executive detailed the massive budget and the life-changing contract that my project had secured. Then, she asked the parents who had supported me through this long journey to step forward and join us on the stage for a special presentation. Instead of looking toward the empty seats of my parents, the executive gestured directly toward Arthur and Sarah. They looked completely stunned, exchanging confused glances before I met their eyes and nodded encouragingly. They walked down the long aisle as the curious audience watched, and Sarah began to cry tears of pure, unadulterated joy for me. On stage, the executive handed them a major financial grant and a framed certificate, thanking them publicly for believing in my talent. The crowd rose to their feet, cheering for the beautiful display of parental devotion. The live broadcast cameras captured every tear and every smile, broadcasting this emotional triumph directly to my parents in their resort room. When the ceremony concluded, my phone began to vibrate violently in my pocket. I pulled it out to find 78 missed calls, frantic text messages, and urgent voicemails from my mother, father, and sister. Their messages shifted from confusion to anger, and finally to desperate pleading. I simply turned the screen face down and returned to celebrating with my real family. We enjoyed a quiet dinner together, laughing and sharing stories without any drama. Within hours, the video of the presentation went completely viral online, sparking massive discussions about family and loyalty. My sister tried to post a public message claiming how proud she was of my success, but the internet quickly exposed the historical neglect of my family. My parents attempted to reach me through mutual relatives, claiming there had been a terrible misunderstanding and demanding their rightful recognition as my creators. I listened to their excuses but chose not to reply. My silence was not meant to be a cruel punishment, but rather a firm and permanent boundary to protect my peace of mind. In the weeks that followed, my life settled into a beautiful, productive routine. I realized that love is not about enduring neglect, and family is not defined by shared blood. True family consists of the people who actually choose to show up for you. By closing the door on those who kept me small, I finally found the freedom to grow.